What we're seeing here is a bit of a splitting of that updraft and a splitting of the hail core. So one of these is going to become stronger, one's going to become weaker. You can see where these notches are and in that line. So that is showing again where the outflow and the inflow are fighting each other. That's where we're starting to find that rotation. So we've had reports of funnels, but we have not seen that rotation make it to the ground as of yet. A lot of this from Grimes stretching through Walker over towards San Jacinto and Trinity counties. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, some of the hardest hit areas with rainfall on Sunday, and now with our rainfall today as well. Estimated totals upwards of 6.5 inches, 8 inches, upwards of 8 inches over in Trinity County. So again, if you do encounter water on the roadways, do not try and pass through it, because it is hard to see when it is dark, hard to see when it is raining, and there is a lot of water on the ground on extremely saturated soils. Storm potential, and we're going to have to watch for isolated areas of hail, damaging wind gusts, and the tornado risk. It's low, but it's not zero. Now, I said now that specific version. If we look at another one of our high-res models at the same time, you can see these two pictures look very different. This is because this is what we call a conditional storm chance. There's a very potent cap in the atmosphere. It's basically a very stable layer of air. If the cap holds, it's going to inhibit that storm potential, but if the cap breaks, those storms can tap into that storm energy. That's when we get that more scattered storm potential. Now, depending on where the center of the circulation goes will determine where we see the strongest winds, but you can see this specific version of First Alert Forecast paints a large area of the Brazos Valley under those very strong wind gusts. That is tropical storm force, anywhere from about 40 to 70 miles per hour. And that is why we have that tropical storm warning outlined for the majority of the Brazos Valley today to make its way to the Lone Star State over the next about 72 hours. Now, it's going to start to spark up storms as early as this evening, lingering into Saturday and Sunday again. So that is something to keep in mind if you have travel plans that take you across the state of Texas for the holiday. Because of that tornado possible tag, we need to be putting as many walls between us and the outside as possible, getting into that lower level of your house. If you have lost power, take your mobile devices with you. And if you don't have a mobile device, turn up the TV. We'll stay with you as long as we keep that tornado possible tag with this system. Let's move up to the severe portion of this line. This moving a little bit quicker. This severe warning right now does only include Milam and Robertson County for our neck of the woods, with specifically this section of the line being monitored for wind gust of 60 miles per hour and quarter-sized hail. And an ice storm warning now issued for areas along and east of I-45. When it comes to an ice storm warning and the difference between that and the winter storm warning, it's just the additional ice accumulation that we anticipate and those impacts that go along with it. So we could find up to a half an inch of ice in those areas highlighted in that dark purple. When you cross into that threshold, that's when you start to find those power outages more likely to occur, more damage likely with those kinds of accumulations. Then you're talking winter storm warning. That's still ice damage that could be detrimental to some infrastructure up to a quarter of an inch. But as you move further to the east, you do notice those impacts drop off, but they are still present, indicating very clearly that there's a fingerprint of climate change on our forecast moving through this week. So,
you know, like it's coming, and this is the beginning of a movie that I don't want to be a part of, Kayleigh.
It's giving Dune just ever so slightly. But yeah, 45-mile-per-hour gusts, not going to be an uncommon sight, not only in far west and north Texas today, but across a good portion of the state. Then all eyes are on that cold front, and the timing of this is going to impact when we see rain. We all know that cold fronts aren't on cruise control, so this timeline could change. But as of this morning, looks like most of your Easter morning plans are good to go. Around lunchtime, early afternoon, and certainly into the evening and overnight, that is where I think we can make those storms a little bit more robust. So as you approach the Brazos Valley, it's close, but again, that freezing line just up to our north, so everything that is currently falling is all liquid. Our temperatures aren't cold enough to support anything other than liquid rainfall. But it's not beneficial for those roads that have already been treated with salt or salt brine. All of this liquid water and liquid rain can wash that away before we even find the freezing activity that we anticipate to find a little bit later today and certainly into the overnight. The only change today is the wind direction. We're going to find that shifting out of the east and southeast, and then through the rest of the work week, that is completely out of the southeast. That means onshore flow is back, and we know that that means the Gulf is giving us a nice big exhale and humidity returns. One of these we're going to highlight a little bit more right now is lower beam height. Now, what exactly does that mean? When we are scanning the atmosphere, we use multiple different radars across the state of Texas, 3 main ones, and really the main one that we use is out at Fort Cavazos, the KGRK radar. Now, it is a lower resolution radar. We get new data every 6 minutes or so, and it does an okay job at giving us an idea of what's going on above our heads. The biggest issue is that it's 63 miles away from us here in Bryan College Station. Now, how radar works, as that radar beam is shot overhead, the central area of that beam where you get the best data reading is over 4,000 feet above our heads. We are shooting far up into the atmosphere, so we can miss a lot of what is happening a little bit closer to the surface. So with this new First Alert radar being so close to home, that central beam is only 300 feet above our heads.
And Kayleigh, we are about to wrap up the first week of May.
Yeah, hard to really put that into your brain that we're into spring, but we're talking snowstorm potential up in Colorado. You can see temperatures right now in Denver sitting at 30 degrees. You've got widespread snow still falling, and this is all backed by the cooler air that eventually will make its way to the Brazos Valley. But we're not talking snow potential. We are talking storm potential, though, as this front moves in. But today, that storm potential is conditional, but we are already seeing our first realized severe thunderstorm warnings well over to our west, just south of I-10. We've got 3 warnings, all of these meeting the baseline severe threshold for winds, that's gusts of 60 miles per hour, and they are finding very large hail, anywhere from a quarter to about the size of a $50. We even saw that peak at about 2 inches in diameter. That's the size of an egg. Now, we will continue to monitor those as they make their way over to the east. Model data has those sustaining themselves through about lunchtime, but as they approach the Brazos Valley, they do look to fade out, while we will watch for some showers, maybe a stray rumble of thunder right along the leading edge of that front. But you saw forecast radar really isn't buying into this storm potential, so it believes that the cap in the atmosphere will hold. That said, if the cap can break, we obviously see that out happening to our west, that all modes of severe weather will be possible. But right now, the main focus is for large hail, again, something that we are already seeing out to our west. Now, one thing that we are a little bit more confident in is the cooler air coming with this system. Temperatures will reach our high at about 83 by noon. That's when the winds start to flip here locally. Temperatures take a dip down into the mid and lower 70s, and the rain chance will start to fizzle out as we head into the back half of the day. But this is far from our only weather system that we have our eyes on. Then we move on to the next large area of low pressure right now that is just sitting off the west coast, eventually makes its way to the Brazos Valley, and this cold front is still going to be impacting our weather as we head into your Thursday and into the weekend. It's going to stall out, and depending on where that front stalls, we could find a little bit of shower activity moving overhead, but model data this morning has really backed off on Thursday's rain and thunderstorm potential and is leaning into Friday and especially Saturday, as we have not only the lift from the front, but the lift from that area of low pressure. That's certainly something that we need to have if we're going to find those numerous to widespread showers and thunderstorms. So Thursday and Friday's rain potential at 30%. Right now, that depends on where that front ends up stalling. So know that those numbers are going to change as we continue to get more data in. Saturday still looks to be your best potential to find those widespread showers and thunderstorms with lingering rainfall for Mother's Day. So like Carla mentioned yesterday, maybe get mom that umbrella for the holiday. By the end of the week, 1/2 inch to 2 inches of rainfall. Big range, but we also know this has a lot of moving parts, so we could unfortunately end up on the drier side of this, but I'm hopeful that we will get all of this rain without any bumps and bruises of severe weather.